Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to talk about how to win a gunfight. How do you get in a gunfight and not die and successfully unalive the people that are trying to unalive you? All right, so fighting is the same. I'm not going to go too down along this rabbit hole, but fighting has always been the same. Fighting is the same whether it's you're throwing punches with somebody in the octagon or using tomahawk missiles. If you really break it down all to its fundamentals, the principles are the same all the way across the board. Okay. There are three, I have terrible camera sense, three tactics that you can employ whether you are guiding an entire military to victory on a campaign, or you are trying to win a gunfight in Costco. Okay? There's three of them. The first one is surprise. Surprise is primarily a tactic that's utilized in the planning stage, but can be used in the heat of the moment, if you will. Okay? So in order to surprise somebody, we can deceive them. We can make them think we're going to be somewhere that we're not. We can be sneaky. We can just straight up, they don't know we're even there at all because we're such a sneaker. We can distract somebody. Okay, so we can make somebody look or focus on a direction that we're not actually going to be. And my personal favorite, surprise through toughness, we can defy the expectations of the enemy. Oh, fuck. We can defy the expectations of the enemy. So if the enemy thinks that there's no way a human being can attack us from this direction, there's no way a human being can survive these conditions, there's no way a human being can be awake right now, there's no way a human being can attack after what they just did, whatever, right? If we can do something that defies the enemy's human expectation of us, we can catch them completely off guard. Right? So like if they think that there's a mountain pass that's impassable and they don't even set up defenses over there, and then we successfully pass that mountain pass, we have completely bypassed their defensive lines. Right? Or if we attack them at an hour that they think is unimaginable to be up and organized as a large force, or they're sleeping, we're defying their expectations of humanity, and we're going to get massive gains from that. The next two tactics that you can use are maneuverability and violence, and those are used primarily in the heat of the moment, once the dance has started, if you will. Okay, so focusing on maneuverability, we have speed. So if we can just execute faster than the enemy, beat him to the punch, that's going to help us. All right. The most basic maneuverability of them all, I just have written down here, flanking. That's all it is. Get to the side of your enemy. The side of your enemy is not as strong as the front of him. All right. We can use maneuverability to avoid danger. So if the enemy has a center of gravity, a mass casualty creating situation, a kill zone, whatever the case is, we can just not go there. And on the flip side of that, we can use maneuverability to attack their weakness. So where their strength isn't, we can maneuver to where they're weak and attack them there rather than head-on charging the stronghold. So that's how you can utilize maneuverability. All right. Last but not least on maneuverability is battle tempo. So kind of back to speed. What speed does, if you're able to continually outpace your enemy, you get to dictate the battle tempo, and you can get them to where they're not even able to keep up. They're not able to get their bearing. They're not able to resupply. They're not able to refit. They're not able to reorganize. And you're just bam, 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 attacking them relentlessly. Battle tempo. All right, moving on to violence. Violence, as a strategy, we can physically overwhelm the enemy with whether it be firepower or manpower. We can just physically overwhelm them and dominate them. We can mentally demoralize the enemy, right? So sometimes just the sound of machine gun fire or snipers are huge for this, right? One sniper can hold down like a whole platoon or company of men, and most of what that's about is the mental warfare, the mental demoralization of what that does to somebody psychologically. So you can use a small amount of violence to have a large psychological effect. All right. Similar to battle tempo is battle momentum. So if anybody is a fucking sports ball guy, you know, like once your team starts scoring or whatever, the momentum starts going your way, and unless there's some big thing that happens to break that, that kind of like builds to the human spirit of the thing, and makes people start playing better and stuff in a sports setting. So violence can do the same thing in combat, and you can have battle momentum, right? So if you are seizing objectives, if you are destroying the enemy, if you are clearing objectives, all in the duration of a single day firefight, the enemy is aware of that. The enemy is aware that they're losing ground and you're gaining ground, that you are imposing your will on them and they are unable to impose their will on you. And that adds to the morale, the spirit of the situation, and makes it even easier for you to continue to impose your will on the enemy. Eventually, if you do that, you will break the enemy's will to fight, right? Whether you can physically overwhelm them, mentally demoralize them, or have so much momentum that ultimately you will break their will to fight, and they will either surrender or go home or just lay in their fucking dirt hole and die. And that's great for us, because then we win and we don't die, which is what we're trying to do. All right. So what that looks like in reality, utilizing maneuverability and violence as tactics, as an individual, what you're going to be doing nonstop, what the common acronym is: shoot, move, communicate, right? So the three things you're going to be doing in a gunfight is shooting, moving, and communicating. If you are doing something other than those three things and there's an active gunfight going on, you're probably wrong, and you should probably start shooting, moving, or communicating. What you're communicating is what you see, what you need, what your plan is, and where you're going to be moving to next. Those are the kinds of things that you're going to be communicating to your other team members in that communication segment. All right. Expanding upon the shooting and the moving part, you may have also heard people say movement without fire is suicide and fire without movement is a waste of ammo, right? That means that we have to shoot in order to move, and we have to move in order to win the fight. So if we're shooting but nobody's moving, we're just blasting off a bunch of rounds for no reason, because it's all about maneuverability. It's about using speed to flank the enemy by avoiding their danger and attacking them at their weak spots and maintaining battle tempo. That's maneuverability. So if we're just shooting, we're not using maneuverability. And if we're just moving, we're not utilizing any violence. So we need to use both of them. We need to use violence to affect the enemy, and then we need to capitalize on that effect we're having on the enemy by maneuvering on them. Shoot, move, communicate. Okay, refining that down, there is 4 steps of a gunfight. First, you have to find or locate the enemy, all right, whether that is because they have begun to fire upon you, or you were actually able to successfully identify the enemy on a patrol or an ambush site before they have identified you, so you've got the drop on them, which would go into surprise. Good job being so sneaky. Okay, once we've located the enemy, or they have located us, we know where the fuck they're at, we are going to attempt to fix them or gain fire superiority, right? We are gaining fire superiority in order to fix them. That means we are affecting them so heavily with fires, with our violence. They are so heavily affected by violence that they are unable to maneuver. They are fixed. They are stuck. They are suppressed. They are pinned down. I'm pinned down. Okay? That's what we've done to the enemy. We've fixed them. Once we've fixed the enemy, we can maneuver on them. We're going to use that maneuverability. We're going to maneuver. We're going to flank, terrain allowing, etc., etc. Met TC. Once we've maneuvered to an advantageous position, we are going to then, the 4th step, close with and destroy the enemy once and for all. Finish them. All right? So now I'm going to show you what that looks like on paper. Okay, friends, we can see here in this beautiful hand animation. Our friendly squad consists of 2 3-man fire teams, purple team, red team. We have our very terrible bad guys over here, red team. And our story starts off with the good guys on a patrol, and they have received contact from the enemy. Make up whatever story you like in your head. Perhaps enemy LPOP. Maybe it's the first team of a fire team, of a squad. I don't know. Step 1, find the enemy. They have been found. We are shooting at them. Okay, in the next step, we can see our fire teams have done their react contact drill, not only on a team level, but on a squad level. We've gotten online with patrol leader picking up rear security and assessing the situation. Okay, and now our squad is fixing the enemy. We're gaining fire superiority over the enemy. We are shooting more than them. We are using more violence than them. And our patrol leader is going to decide that we have fixed the enemy, and he is going to now move on to maneuvering. He has decided to take himself and his fire team and maneuver them to the right flank through this heavily wooded area where there is some cover and concealment to help mask their movement from the enemy team. And they have now maneuvered in the maneuver step into an advantageous flank position of the enemy. Now the enemy is under fire from 90 degrees, so they're not only fire from these people back here. Also, this team stayed back in a support by fire, abbreviated support by fire, right? So this is our maneuver element, and this is our support by fire element. Support by fire keeps the enemy fixed with a heavy rate of fire, allowing our maneuver team to maneuver. Once our maneuver team has maneuvered, the enemy is under fire from both directions, this direction and this direction at 90 degrees, which makes it pretty hard to get cover. There's not a lot of things you can hide behind that protect you from the front and from a side, which leaves at least one or the other exposed to our fire, so we can start to mass casualty event the enemy. In our final phase of the firefight, we are going to close with and destroy the enemy. You can see that our maneuver team has started to sweep through the kill zone and finish off anybody that was cowering in their hole, and dead check the enemy and rapidly gain any intel or re-up on supplies they can get from the downed bad guys. Our support by fire position here, they have shifted their fires, right? So once our maneuver team starts to sweep the kill zone, we're going to have to shift our fires or completely cut them off. We don't want any friendly fire going on. And our support by fire team transitions to picking up general 360 security while maintaining overwatch of the kill zone with at least one person. Okie doke. So that is find, fix, maneuver, and destroy the enemy in a general overview. Next, we are going to talk about bounding. So we have team bounding, we have buddy rushing, and we have assaulting fires. That's a team movement, a buddy movement, and an individual movement. Okay? So when distance and terrain and lack of enemy fire allow, we're going to maneuver as a team. Okay? So in that case, we had one team staying in support by fire and another team flank the enemy. In a more generic setting, we would have one team set and cover, maintain ready to shoot or providing sporadic fire if necessary, while one team moved, and then this team would stop and set and provide cover and allow this team to move, and then they would stop and set and provide cover and allow this team to move. That way we're always maintaining shooters and movers, and we're swapping back and forth. So as a total unit, we are always shooting and moving. However, as I illustrated in the team, as I alluded to in the team bounding, typically we are not under enemy fire. Typically we have support or through suppression from other units, or we have cover and concealment that allows us to not be exposed to the enemy fire, so we can move as a team in order to gain a lot of ground quickly, since we're moving multiple people at a single time. All right. At some point, ultimately, we're going to come under fire. The terrain is going to dictate. It's going to open up, and we're going to get so close to the objective that we are going to be under fire. So once you're under sporadic, semi-effective fire, you're going to switch over to buddy rushing. This usually happens at about 100 yards away from the objective. So that same concept of one team stays, one team moves, leapfrogging like that, we're going to do the same thing, but we're now going to go down to buddy pairs. So in a perfect world, these guys are going to buddy pair, these guys are going to buddy pair, these guys are going to buddy pair. So focusing primarily just on their buddies, he's going to shoot and he's going to move, and then he's going to shoot and then he's going to move, and then he's going to shoot, so he's going to move, so on and so forth. And while they're doing that, they're doing that. And they're doing that. So what that looks like is this. But probably not quite so perfect, right? A little more irregular than that. So while you are paying attention to your pairs, you're also going to want to generally make sure you're online, right? So you don't want these guys to get here and these guys to be heart chargers all the way up here and these guys to have a gun problem, so they're stuck way back here. You know, you're cut off. These guys can't really support you anymore. You're way too far out up ahead without any support. So even if you have the ability to move, if you have teammates lagging behind, you're going to have to hold up and let them catch up. And on the flip side of that, if you are an entire squad and you're buddy rushing, if your gun goes down, don't sit there for 5 minutes working on it. Pick your gun up, even if it doesn't work, and move. And then work on your gun, and then pick it up and move. And then work on your gun until you get to a better situation. Common mistakes with this. A lot of people think that because this guy and this guy and this guy are moving at the same time, that they're buddies or they're buddies. That's not true. You, the person who is shooting while the other person moves, and then you swap and he shoots while you move, y'all are buddies. Because if you're moving, he should be shooting. If he stops shooting, you stop moving and you start shooting. And if you're shooting, he moves. Of the pair, one shooting, one moving at all times. If this is repetitive, it's because I've seen so many people fuck this simple thing up. It's unbelievable. Okay. So, you've done your buddy rushing. At some point, you're going to get so close to the objective that the last 10, 20 yards or so to it, you're going to, as an individual, have to shoot and move at the same time simultaneously. And that's where you get what's called assaulting fires. That's where you will move and shoot. So you're shooting at the objective while you're moving, and you approach it. As you move into the opening of that trench, as you move into the front door of that building, as you cross over that threshold into the enemy complex, you're going to be firing into the complex to provide yourself supporting fire, covering fire, while you are moving your feet, physically maneuvering on the battlefield, being both the shooter and the mover at the same time. Now, your movement is going to be rapid. The movement is going to take priority over the shooting. Everybody gets this weird. Everybody thinks they're a fucking SWAT team and they want to practice tiptoe creeping down a hallway and taking a headshot. More realistically, what you should practice doing is almost dead sprinting 20 yards while mag dumping into an area the size of a front door. That's an effective combat skill. If you can suppress a foxhole or a trench or a complex opening while fucking actually covering some ground, That's a usable combat skill. Not walking at fucking toddler pace while making T-box shots. I don't know who the fuck does that. If you need to make a T-box stop fucking walking and shoot him in the head and then start walking again. If you need to move and suppress for yourself, you need to fucking move. Move, 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 move. All right. That is team bounding, buddy rushing, and assaulting fires. Last thing I want to cover is lateral movements, moving left to right, side to side. First thing that we have is a peel. Oh, I shouldn't have got rid of those. Let me bring those back. So the first lateral movement type that we can do is a peel. A peel is best utilized when we're under heavy fire and we need to move left or right, usually due to some terrain dictating obstacle or impassable situation in front of us. So we have to move laterally and then carry on with our forward progression. Okay? The way that the peel works is that the man furthest away from whatever direction is we're peeling. So in this example, we're peeling right. So the leftmost man, everybody's shooting. We are receiving fire. Everybody is shooting. I'm going to say peel right. The leftmost man is going to run. He's going to kick this guy, tap him on the boot, whatever, scream last man as he runs past him. He's going to run until he gets a few yards past the rightmost dude, and then he's going to get back online, and he's going to start shooting. That's what he does. All right, this guy, when he runs past him and he kicks him, he goes, last man, kicks him in the foot as he runs past him. This guy's going to, in his head, count to whatever is a reasonable amount of time for this dude to run. Count to 3, count to 5, count to 7. It depends on, are you out with 4 dudes or you're out with 20 dudes? But you're going to count off a few seconds, 5 seconds, whatever, in your head. Once you've counted off a few seconds in your head, you are going to get up and you're going to smack the next guy and say, last man. You're going to kick him in the foot and you're going to run. And then so on and so forth. Boom. While everybody else is shooting. Boom. Everybody's still shooting. The only person who's not shooting is the one or maybe 2 guys who are up running at a time, right? All the way until you get where you're going, right? So we were here, and then we peeled one at a time until we got here. And that is a way we can move laterally to the right or to the left. The other thing that we can do, if we are not under such heavy fire, or if I'm trying to move just a couple individuals, sometimes in gunfights, people will start to bring in their lanes, and you need teams to shift in order to allow everybody to have clearance of fire. Okay, I'm just going to say shift, and that's when the whole team is going to move. The whole team is going to just shift over like that, rather than the entire element moving. Just one segment of the element that I've signified. Purple team, you shift right. So they're going to shift right. Rather than having them peel right as a team, they're just going to shift right as a team. If you are under heavy fire and you need to shift, you can just scoot in the prone. Ideally. Hopefully you don't have to go over any high ground or anything like that. Hello, boys and girls. I should have added a segment talking about what to do if you're being flanked. Because if you're being flanked, you're about to get got, and you got to do some shit, and you got to do it quick. Generally, there's 2 options. You can either break contact hard, and break contact so rapidly and so far that the flanking maneuver that the other element just did no longer is at your flank, right? So if you bail out 500 yards or 200 yards to the rear, then it doesn't matter if that element is flanked to you, right? They're now both still in front of you because you've pulled back so far so rapidly. And the other option is to also immediately shift and crash into that flanking element to deny their flank, right? Let's see if we can do this. If while these guys were coming up like this and they're right up here, if you were able to shift your focus and crash into the woods and cut this flanking maneuver off, right? Then you could cut them off, and then you could be at a more flank to was previously supported by fire. The thing is, though, the enemy is going to have you fixed. You're going to be under heavy effective fire. So you're going to have to do some fucking balls to the walls ass shit. If you see yourself getting flanked, it's going down. So you got to do something, right? You either need to pull out, even though you're under fire. You're going to have to pop smoke and bail out hard under heavy fire. Or you're going to have to maneuver under heavy fire aggressively into that enemy flank. The only third option would be if you had a reserve unit, you would call on them to crash and cut off this flanking unit. So if you're being flanked, you're going to have to maneuver out of that flank, either aggressively and offensively or defensively and rapidly. Either way, you're going to have to do it hard, you're going to have to do it fast, and it's going to be while you're under heavy fire. So, yeah, man. That's that. Bonus round. Later, y'all.